Actually, clients have been sending us a lot of emails with complaints lately. It has to do with one of our male employees' services. Do you know who that might be? I believe Will to be the one. His bad attitude, along with the fact that he still hasn't mastered the work, have been brought up by a number of clients. His age, in my opinion, could play a role. I understand. We just cannot continue to hire someone of that caliber. I apologize. Well, as of right now, we'll have to let him go. It could be time for me to take a step back, even though I believe I could continue working after retirement. I recognize. I appreciate everything you've done so far. Thank you very much. Mary got back to me the following day. Will, there's a serious issue. Not a single one of our usual clients is visiting. Daniel is panicking out and wants to know what's going on. So does the manager. How come? Why is this taking place? What might have been the cause? I am Will Wilson. I'm 66 years old. I moved in with my wife after retiring from my job. 3 grandchildren live with us. Our children have moved out. I was a sales representative for a housemaker before I retired. When I was younger, I used to put so much effort into my work that I frequently topped the sales charts. My wife Lisa took care of the kids and home chores. I want to spend time with her now, repaying her for those years of support by doing household chores and playing golf, which is one of our common interests. However, I still feel as though something is lacking. The idea of not having a career anymore, after devoting decades of my life to it, motivated me to work every day. I told my wife about this one day. She agreed with my wish to work right away. It's fantastic. Would you mind trying it again? Will, I enjoy watching you work so hard, she grinned. I'm grateful. Okay, I'll give it another go. I began my job search the day after that. I was concerned about whether or not I could still manage a job at this age, but I quickly discovered an employer that was open to hiring me. This tiny cafe has 2 locations. Their siphon-made coffee is highly regarded, and they take great pride in it. My spouse is a lover of the establishment, and the cakes are also well-liked. I believe that, given my background in sales, I could manage a customer service position. Although I'm not big on sweets, I have a strong fondness for coffee. I was eager to test it. My wife was overjoyed, acting as though she had won the job, when I told her that I had been hired. That's fantastic. It sounds thrilling to work in a cafe, as one might assume. You get to dress in a stylish uniform. Hey, you don't actually work here. Compared to me, you appear more excited. Despite our advanced age, we eagerly started our new lives with these kinds of talks. I was anxious on my first day of work. I hadn't felt this anxious before entering the cafe since I was a new employee. I was a little relieved to discover that I still felt these new emotions. I went up to a female who appeared to be a part-time employee as soon as I entered the cafe. Excuse me, my name is Will, and I'm starting work here today. Yes, Will, I am aware of you. I work part-time and am Mary Williams. It's good to meet you. You can follow me to the office. Kindly proceed with me. She was happy and kind, and Mary's beaming grin helped to calm my nerves a little. I was shown to a little office after Mary. A computer, folders, documents, and half-empty bottled drinks littered the desk. Please punch in at the time clock by the entrance upon arrival. Then change into your uniform in the locker room. We'll have the manager here soon, so please have a seat and wait. Please feel free to ask any queries you may have. Mary made me like her even more with her kind grin when she stated this. Soon after, the manager entered the office. Good morning, Will. I'm excited to start working with you today. I got up quickly and said, Good morning. I'm excited to collaborate with you as well. I'll be here primarily because I have administrative duties to complete. Our part-time employee, Mary, will enlighten you up a floor. You can ask Daniel anything. He is the floor's team leader and will be here shortly. Understood. Well then, please head to the floor and do your best. feeling a little uneasy. I turned to face the floor and greeted the part-timers who were working. Mary started by going over the menu with me, explaining each item as she went. A man came up to us as she was teaching me, saying, "Hey there, Daniel," in a tired voice. "Well done. Will is here. He begins work today." Mary gave me my introduction. He appeared to be the worker the management had previously indicated. "It's good to meet you. My name is Will. I'm excited to collaborate with you." Daniel said, "Hello," with an instant bewildered expression on his face. "How come? This is how you recruited an elderly man. What use is an elderly man like him expected to have? Please give me a moment." His initial words surprised me so much that I ignored my greeting. How impolite. "Oh please, he's only now getting familiar with the menu. Once he gets the hang of it, he'll be fine," Mary reassured. Her generosity came as a huge comfort to me. "I'll do my best to learn the job, so please bear with me." I grinned once more. "Most likely, you'll simply forget everything. Please do not worry us. This is not a place to retire." Daniel then vanished into the office. "I hope you will excuse him." With an uncomfortable smile, Mary said, "Daniel can be really snarky at times." "I see. Together, let us give it our all." "Mary, thank you." I spent some time studying about the menu before being given a lesson on how to brew coffee with a siphon. This was really difficult for me, and no matter how many times I tried, I was never able to get the hang of it and produce decent coffee. It's the distinguishing feature here, though, so I have to get good at it. Mary comforted me, recognizing my fear and saying, "It's okay. Everyone starts by making mistakes." I'm grateful. I suppose I need to practice a lot. Daniel came over with a sneer as I sent back a rueful look. "How awful are you at this, old man? We need you to pick things up fast. Practice time is not available." "All right, but initially I also made a lot of mistakes. You'll eventually grasp it. You will be fired if you continue to complain and don't brew a good cup of coffee. In the first place, I had no intention of hiring an elderly man. You are not useful." Clearly, Daniel found my advanced age intolerable. I have pride, but there's nothing I can do about my age. A young punk like him can't make me look foolish. I'll disprove him by learning this job as fast as I can. That tenacity gave me the drive to achieve. The manager called me into the office while I was rehearsing. "Lunch breaks will be taken in shifts." "Okay, Will, you have lunch first." "I understand." A feeling of exhaustion overcame me as soon as I sat down in the office chair and took a breath. My legs were quite fatigued, something I had not experienced while working. It's difficult to stand all day. I can't be whining on the first day, please. Since Mary is trying her hardest to teach me, I must also try my hardest. This is what I told myself as I began to eat my wife's prepared lunch. My worried heart and my hungry stomach were both calmed by the comforting taste. I kept practicing preparing coffee in the afternoon after the break. So concluded my exhausting first day working part-time. My wife gave me a troubled look when I arrived home. "How did the part-time work go? Are you all right?" "Yes, I made it through, but it was difficult to stand all day. I have to practice golf on my days off to increase my endurance." "Sure, I'll come along," grinned my wife. I've been working the part-time job for 3 months now, and I've become accustomed to it. I can now prepare coffee that is good enough to serve to patrons. Since most of our clients are repeat business, I've begun to recall their names, faces, and customary orders. Many patrons take a seat at the counter. I usually talk to them while using the siphon to make coffee. Having experience in sales, I felt comfortable interacting with clients. Our clientele includes office professionals, students, homemakers, and elders. Speaking with clients over lunch is one of my favorite aspects of my work. Customers now refer to me as Will or Old Will with affection, and some even confide in me about their problems. When I was managing a new customer's table one day, I unintentionally brought the incorrect order. "Excuse me, but this isn't what I ordered." I apologized profusely. "I will immediately remake it. Kindly give it a moment." Daniel was waiting for me, looking at me angrily, as I quickly took back the incorrect order. "What are you doing, old man? Are you going crazy? You will be punished by having to clean the entire floor by yourself. You'll be dismissed if you commit the same error again. I'll let the manager know that everyone is having problems because of your errors. You get it." Daniel and I were the only part-timers working that day because everyone else was off. As promised, Daniel played on his phone, hid in a corner, and did not work during the entire period. When the boss periodically came onto the floor, that's when he feigned to work. I was enraged. Everybody occasionally makes mistakes. Why was this the way I had to be treated? I worked carefully and politely with the customers, determined not to make any more blunders. I made it through the day without making any mistakes. I went to talk to Daniel at closing. I completed all of this without any problems. Could I go for the day? I'll overlook it this once, but I won't do it again. Acting all haughty and powerful when he's not even the manager. Who does he think he is? As I made my way home, I complained to myself. From then on, Daniel would find ways to avoid his responsibilities and put all the work on me when it was just the two of us. You ought to feel appreciative that you can work at your age. Should you cease to be busy, your intellect will get dull. Which is why I'm assigning you tasks. You need to be giving me thanks. The cafe was quiet and had few seats, yet it was difficult to handle the lunch rush on its own. My days got harder and harder because I was overworked, insulted all the time, and stressed out to the point of tardiness. I considered approaching the management, but I was too proud to concede to a less experienced worker. "Will, you look so exhausted these days. You don't feel particularly hungry. Are you working a part-time job that is too demanding for you? Your health comes first, so don't overdo it." "I'm fine. Don't worry." I wanted to be as happy as possible so that my wife wouldn't worry. The manager summoned me over as soon as I got to work one morning. "Will, Daniel, I need to talk to you both." "Yes, what is it?" "We've been getting a lot of emails from customers complaining lately. It has to do with one of our male employees' services. Are you able to identify the possible person?" Daniel spoke up before I could say anything. "I believe Will is the one. I've heard a number of clients bemoan his attitude." I was astounded by what I heard. This was the first I had heard of anything like that. In addition, he continues to make mistakes and still lacks the necessary skills for the position. He has received numerous warnings and instructions, but nothing has changed. His age, in my opinion, is a key consideration. What Daniel was saying shocked me. I tried to be kind to all other customers and liked having daily talks at the counter with my regulars. Why was all of this taking place? That was the one occasion in which I erred. I see. I apologize, but we have to let go of that employee. We had to say goodbye to you for today. I resisted the urge to dispute with the management. Perhaps it was just my conceit, but I felt like I was doing a terrific job. I thought I could continue working even after I retired, but perhaps it's time to officially retire. My self-assurance swiftly evaporated, leaving me speechless. I recognize. I appreciate everything you've done so far. After gathering my items from the locker, I headed over to bid the part-timers farewell. I completed the required tasks, punched my time card one more time, and walked out of the cafe. I started crying on the way home because I felt as though I had lost all faith in life. My wife came to the door to greet me when I arrived home, shocked to see me back so early. "What took place? Did you depart ahead of schedule? Do you feel ill at all?" I quit. Although I couldn't bring myself to admit it, my observant wife might have figured out what had happened. That being said, I was surprised by her remarks. "Thank you for quitting the part-time job." "What?" "Will, I was really concerned about how worn out you seem to be recently. You didn't have to work as hard for me anymore. From now on, let's relax and enjoy our time together. Yeah, thank you. I felt as though I had left a huge hole in my heart when I uttered that. Mary left me a message on my phone the following day. Will, there's a serious issue. Not a single one of our usual clients is visiting. The manager and Daniel are panicking out and want to know what's going on. What? Why is this taking place? What might have been the cause? You know, we put your parting message on the staff blog yesterday. I believe that everyone chose not to attend after reading it. Several patrons expressed their reluctance to attend in the absence of you. It seems to be the reason no one is attending. I understand. Additionally, it appears that the owner will shortly visit the business. I'm curious as to what's going on because it seems odd. Daniel and the manager are in a panic since no one is coming in, and now the owner has suddenly shown up. Will, is there any other way I can get in touch with you? Yes. I know it sounds difficult, but persevere. I'm grateful. I apologize for troubling you now that you've given up. I simply feel overburdened. It's all right. You are welcome to get in touch at any time. The story Mary told unnerved me. How can I address the regular's absence? However, at this point, I am powerless. I got a call from the manager a few hours later. Hi, Will. I apologize for interrupting your day off. Is now a suitable moment to speak? Yes, everything is all right. I apologize, but would you please come to the store right now? What is happening? Has anything occurred? If it's okay, I'd prefer to talk about it with you in person. All right, I'll go over right now. Despite not knowing what was going on, I made the decision to go after hearing what Mary had to say. I ran into the owner again at the door when I got there. Will, a long time has passed. Personally, I just arrived here. It was me who gave you the call. I apologize for the impromptu request. We should speak in the office. Daniel and the manager were waiting for us when we walked into the office. I appreciate you coming, the proprietor replied. They all up and greeted one another. Please take a seat. I got a call from a regular customer, which is why I brought you all here today. When I asked them why Will had departed, they stated they had stopped by after reading his farewell post on the site. Since I was unaware of it, I was shocked and came to learn what had occurred. What's happening? Well, there have been a lot of grievances regarding Will's customer service. We asked him to go because he continued making blunders on top of that. You idiots. Did you do a thorough investigation? Will excelled in sales. I would never expect subpar service from someone like him, and he is one of my friends. I have the best understanding of his character. He is not the kind to receive criticism. Is that accurate? I assumed the owner had just conducted his interview and hired him as normal. In all honesty, the proprietor of the cafe helped me land the job there. My wife and I frequent a golf range where I first met Mo, and his spouse frequent that place as well, and we bonded over our shared love of dining out as a quartet. When I remarked to Mo in passing one day that I wanted to go back to work, he suggested that I try working at his cafe. However, Daniel, the floor manager, stated that Will's customer service never got better no matter how many times he received coaching. The manager hung his head and grew hushed in his speech. The owner gave Daniel a nasty glare after realizing this. Daniel, what's this all about? All right, Daniel could not talk well enough and stammered. Now, bring one of the temporary employees over. Tell me the truth, please. Move quickly. Yes, I get it. With haste, the manager walked to the floor and came back carrying Mary. Please pardon me. Hi there. Mary looked very nervous as she walked into the office. I apologize for bothering you while you were working, Mary. I have a couple enquiries. Kindly have a seat. Yes. I've heard a lot of negative things spoken about Will's customer service. What are your thoughts about that? Mary's startled eyes grew wide. She responded with confidence, "That's absolutely impossible," which was a sharp contrast to her earlier nervousness. Will has always had good discussions at the counter and is highly well liked by our frequent clients. We younger employees looked up to him as a role model because he was so friendly to new clients as well. Oh, really? Who you believe was the true target of the allegations regarding a male employee? You were able to talk openly. Don't worry, I'll keep you safe. Well, I have witnessed clients chastise Daniel for his subpar service on a few occasions. I understand. Is it accurate to say that Will wasn't very competent at his job? Without a doubt not. Everyone complimented Will's coffee as the best. That's why after he departed, the customers stopped coming because of how well liked he was for both his personality and his coffee. I understand. Mary, I appreciate you telling me. Please feel free to speak up if you have any other reports to make. You are free to share anything with me. I'm grateful. You promised to protect me, therefore I will tell you everything. Daniel would frequently neglect his work and assign all of it to his part-timers. He also called Will an old guy and said he was useless, insulting him. How come? How are you able to say that? Will affirmed what Mary had said. It's accurate what Mary is saying. When it was just the two of us, Daniel would verbally insult me every day and assign all of the labor to me. He even asserted that elderly people should continue working to prevent dementia. You didn't, Daniel. That was intended to be beneficial to you. He tried valiantly to justify himself, but his arguments fell flat. We are all the same age, Daniel, Will, and me. Do you think I'm worthless? The owner grinned mischievously as she peered into Daniel's eyes. Daniel was speechless and froze. Daniel, in addition to filing fraudulent reports, you neglected your work and used foul language towards your employees. We know who the store actually needs, and it's obvious who has to go. Please give it time. Please don't fire me. I apologize sincerely. I'm sorry. Just don't fire me, please. Daniel, saying sorry isn't enough. You are an inherently flawed human being. You don't value customers, you don't respect your elders, and you don't feel like you operate as a team with your coworkers. Someone like that is not necessary in our store. Whatever justifications you offer, you will be fired. You, management, bear responsibility as well. You have to start keeping a closer eye on things at work. Yes, I apologize profusely. The management expressed sincere regret. Daniel was beside him, looking sad and almost crying. I need to ask for a favor now, Will. Please return to the store beginning tomorrow. You are needed here. The customers, Mary, and the other staff members are all anticipating your return. Please, I'm eager to collaborate with you once more. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. I would be delighted to return. Mary gleamed as she heard what I had to say. I went home after the meeting and wrote about my return to the store on the staff blog. Upon arriving at work, my manager requested me to take on a leadership role. Would you please teach the younger employees how to make coffee and how to provide excellent customer service? Of course, please. I would be glad to assist. One by one, familiar faces began entering as I stood at the counter as usual. You returned. Please don't give up once more. Will, I came here only to sip your coffee. That's accurate. I come here every day. Will, simply to talk stupid with you. And Will, I depend on you for career guidance. Without you, I would be lost. Everyone was chatting at once, and there was laughter all over the counter. Upon returning home, I informed my spouse about the kind reception I had from the patrons and my advancement to part-time leader. You truly are a workaholic, but it makes me smile to see how content you are at work. I will continue to support you. Simply look after yourself and try your hardest. That makes me delighted to hear as well. I'm grateful. I had almost given up on life at one time, but I now see that there are those who depend on me. I want to live up to their expectations and continue to witness my wife's and the client's smiles.
Bargaining. After realizing that his French wasn't being understood, John, who had moved up with confidence, urged me forward. I take it you're older than me? This must be something you do well. Show them what you've got, please. Let's examine a high school graduate's complete potential. That pointless comment. I was about to start after accepting the documents from my agreeing manager when he leaned over and said, "If you mess this up, you'll take full responsibility." What? He didn't mind blaming me for something he couldn't manage on his own. What a man. I forced myself to control my growing rage and just said, "Understood." I started my presentation by apologizing to the client on behalf of my management. My manager couldn't speak. Yes, of course. I do have a big secret after all. Bob Miller is my name. I'm employed for an advertising firm. My mom and I were the only ones left when my dad died of illness when I was a child. She supported me by working several part-time jobs, but she finally passed out at work from exhaustion. She had to be admitted to the hospital, and the medical expenditures began to mount even though it wasn't life-threatening. Even though I was a college student at the time, I was eager to graduate. I had to quit school and go to work. While in school, a buddy had introduced me to an advertising business where I had been working part-time. I had originally intended to start working full-time as soon as I graduated, but I requested to start earlier. I've always been appreciative of this business. I challenged myself to work extra harder in order to express my thanks. Learning French was the most difficult thing for me. French wasn't really required when I worked part-time, but it was required when I started working full-time. Conversation on a daily basis, let alone business communication, was quite challenging for me because I had only learned classroom French. However, I had no time to gripe. I spent my days working and studying for my mother and the supervisors and seniors who looked after me. It was challenging yet worthwhile. I began to notice improvements because of the encouraging people in my life. I was sent to work for another company abroad just as I was finally acknowledged as a fully capable professional and felt I could start contributing to the company in a meaningful way. Thankfully, my mother's condition had improved, so I could depart without concern. Time flew by, and before I knew it, 10 years had passed. For various reasons, I returned to my old company and reported to work at the familiar office. Was there always a vending machine here? I recognized that painting as I was soaking in the changes. A familiar face greeted me. After 10 years, the office was a mix of familiar and unfamiliar faces, but thanks to my former manager, now an executive, who took the time to introduce me to everyone, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Well, with one exception. I was assigned to a department handling international clients. The department manager, John, visibly frowned when I greeted him. I heard someone new was coming in, but an old man and a high school grad at that. What a disappointment. I was stunned by his outright rudeness during our first meeting. Technically, I was a mid-career hire. Even though I was returning after 10 years, it wasn't considered a leave of absence. John, who hadn't been around before my overseas assignment, was apparently 33 years old. I'm 49, but do I really look that old? As I was processing my shock, John sneered, "Listen, this is an international firm. If you can't speak French, you're useless here. Do you even understand French? Maybe it's too tough for someone your age." Does he really not know that I've returned from an overseas assignment? I informed him that I'd spent 10 years abroad. These days, you don't even need fluent French to work abroad. I heard you were in a Korean company, I said. I understood what he was getting at. For short-term transfers, basic language skills, some translation apps, and hand gestures can get you by. But no one can live like that for a decade. Yes, my last assignment was in Korea. But in Korea, they got English signs and plenty of places where you can get by in English. Just because you've worked there doesn't mean you're truly experienced abroad, so don't get cocky about it. I tried to respond, but John cut me off with his own story. I grew up in France, you know. I was there through college, so I know the real deal when it comes to language and culture. Sure, I'm much younger than you, but I've got the authentic experience. If you don't know something, just ask me. This is a merit-based company. Even if you're older, my experience far surpasses yours. His tone was irritating, but he was probably just desperate to maintain his authority. Maintaining a good relationship with him was essential to ensure the smooth operation of our work and the company. I concluded that, for the time being, it was best to stay composed and rise above it all. To familiarize myself with the department's situation, I took on the task of tracking the team's progress. That's when I noticed that one person had an unusually large workload. Her name was Susan Thompson. She seemed to be a relatively new employee. In addition to her assigned duties, she was also handling miscellaneous tasks, preparing meeting materials, coordinating with clients, and compiling departmental proposals. These were all tasks that should have been divided among the team. Of course, she still had her regular workload. I wondered why Susan was the only one overloaded with work. I considered the possibility that she had more capacity, but that didn't seem to be the case. She was staying late every day. She didn't seem like the type to slack off either. I decided to approach Susan and ask her about the situation. "Susan, it looks like you have a lot on your plate. Are you doing okay?" "Mom, oh yes, I'm fine," she immediately replied, even though she seemed surprised that I spoke to her. Her "I'm fine" response made me a bit worried. "Really? You've been working a lot of overtime, and it doesn't seem like you're able to focus on your own tasks." "Thank you for your concern, but it's fine. For someone like me, who isn't good at my job, this level of strictness is necessary." Her words caught me off guard. Not good at your job. If that were true, there's no way she could handle this amount of work, even with overtime. It was an overwhelming amount. "I think you're quite capable. Did someone tell you otherwise?" "Well, yes, John did. I had a feeling that with his high pride, he was probably determined to keep anyone he considered beneath him in their place. Is he the reason you're handling all these extra tasks alone? This workload isn't meant for just one person." "Yes, he told me that since I'm incompetent, I should handle all the grunt work so as not to bother the other employees." I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Of course, John's behavior wasn't commendable, but I couldn't help but think that blindly obeying him wasn't the best choice either. "Did you actually believe him? You're allowed to refuse unreasonable tasks, and you can ask other team members for help." "I can't do that," Susan's quiet voice protested. There seemed to be more to the story. "Why not?" "Well, it's hard to speak up against John. He's the CEO's son." "I see. Just because he's the CEO's son doesn't give him the right to belittle his subordinates or force them into excessive workloads." Still, Susan was probably right. He wouldn't listen to her no matter what she said. Seeing how none of the other employees stepped in to help Susan, I could tell they were also afraid of John's authority. "Anyway, let me help. Pass me any task you think I can handle." "Oh no, I couldn't possibly ask you to do that. This is everyone's work, so it's only fair that I pitch in." After some convincing, Susan finally entrusted me with some of the unfinished tasks. They were simple enough, but the sheer amount was overwhelming for someone unfamiliar with them. "They take a lot of time," I said. "Susan, I'm done with these. Can you pass me the next batch?" "Wait, really? Already?" "Yeah. Oh, make sure to double-check them for me. Let me know if I missed anything." "Yes. Also, are there any tasks that have to be done today?" "Just reviewing this document and compiling the data." "In that case, we should be able to finish by the end of the day. Let's tackle anything else tomorrow. That way, you can leave on time today, but I'll keep helping you tomorrow too." "Thank you so much." She expressed her gratitude repeatedly. The other employees probably overheard our conversation, but they pretended not to notice. Back in my day, there weren't people who flaunted their authority or ignored overburdened colleagues. It was clear that John was a big reason the culture had changed for the worse. Since it would be a hassle if others found out I was helping Susan, I decided to divide the work discreetly through emails and chats. "Bob, how are you so fast at your work?" "What?" "Oh, well, that's probably a rude question to ask a senior, isn't it?" We were having a discussion in a small meeting room about preparing the documents when she suddenly asked me that. "It's not rude at all. It's just, maybe I'm fast because I'm used to it. I've been here a long time after all." You've been with this company for that long? I've been here since I was in college, at first as a part-timer, though. I gave her a brief explanation of my background. That's probably why I know how the company works and have a lot of data in my head. It helps me process things faster. I see. I should learn from you. You're doing great, Susan. You're faster than anyone else. But because of all the extra work, it doesn't look that way. I mentioned earlier that my mom collapsed from overwork. Right. Yes, even young people can ruin their health by working too much. You still look pale, so please don't push yourself too hard. Thank you for your concern. I just want to make it through the meeting next week, at least. That mindset is exactly what's dangerous. It's because you have an important meeting coming up that you need to prioritize your health. Leave the low-priority tasks to me. But I feel bad making you handle so much, Bob. Do I look like I'm struggling? Looking at how stubborn she was, I started to worry. Am I taking away her sense of purpose? To me, it looked like she was struggling, but maybe she found my help more of an annoyance than a blessing. Even so, I didn't want her to collapse like my mother did. I had to prevent that. But I'm not trying to take your job from you, Susan. If I'm being a busybody, just tell me. I'm only concerned for you. Susan suddenly stood up and said, Not at all. You've helped me so much, honestly. Right before you arrived, I was at my limit. Everyone was pretending not to notice me, but thanks to you, I've been able to push through. I'm really grateful. Her eyes were filled with tears. I couldn't even begin to imagine how much she had endured, but I could support her from now on. To acknowledge her resilience, I silently vowed to keep working alongside her. 1 week later, it was the day of the meeting for the projects our department had been working on. Susan was in charge, and we were supposed to meet in front of the client's office building, but she still hadn't shown up by the scheduled time. I grew worried and called her while John, trying to hide his irritation, muttered angrily. Susan, she has no sense of responsibility as a professional. I called several times, but it kept going to voicemail. If she didn't show up, I would have to step in for the meeting. That wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but I felt bad that Susan wouldn't get to showcase the results of all her hard work. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but thinking it might be Susan, I quickly answered. Is this Bob Miller? I'm calling from Mercy Hospital. Yes, this is Bob speaking. A hospital. Susan was just brought in by ambulance. Is she okay? My raised voice drew the attention of everyone around me. I ignored their stares and focused on the call. Yes, she's conscious and alert now. Thank goodness. Apparently, Susan had collapsed on her way to the meeting. Someone nearby called an ambulance, and she was taken to the closest hospital. The cause was anemia, and the diagnosis indicated it was likely stress-related. Though she had been disoriented when she arrived, she is now well enough to send a message asking me to handle things. She'll be staying in the hospital overnight and can be discharged as early as tomorrow if everything looks fine. I felt relieved as I ended the call. Even though I had warned her not to overwork herself, she had pushed too hard to prepare for today. After the meeting, I'd have to visit her. When I explained the situation to everyone, John, as expected, was outraged. She can't even manage her own health. She's completely useless. I wanted to say, whose fault do you think it is that she collapsed? But worsening the situation now and affecting the meeting wouldn't be wise. When I asked for instructions on the next steps, John crossed his arms and extended his hand toward me. Give me the materials, I'll handle it. We need to communicate in French with the client after all. He strode confidently into the building. He was probably eager to show off his skills. I'll show you how in French negotiation is done, so watch and learn. That's what he said, but once the meeting started, John kept glancing nervously between the documents and the client's face. Well, it was obvious what was happening. John's French wasn't getting through. On top of that, he couldn't understand what the client was saying. Both sides tilted their heads in confusion, and the atmosphere grew tense as everyone looked anxiously at their representative. Wasn't he supposed to have grown up in France? Someone whispered. The client let out a sigh of frustration. From what I could hear, John's French was insufficient. At this rate, the meeting was doomed to fail. Well, Are you okay? I asked quietly, and John's expression shifted from weak to angry as he glared at me. But given the circumstances, his glare lacked intensity. Of course not. The client doesn't understand my French. It's not that the client doesn't understand. What are you saying? You want to take over the meeting? No, I didn't mean it that way. If you're bold enough to speak up, you must be confident in your skills, right? Fine, I'll let you handle it. John smirked as he guided me to sit in front of a client. So, I heard you've been secretly helping Susan, acting all high and mighty. Let's see what you've got. Show me what a high school grad can do. There was no choice. As I skimmed through the materials and prepared to speak, John whispered in my ear, "If you mess up, it's all on you." He's blaming everything on me while ignoring the fact that he can't handle it himself. And not just me. He's dragging Susan into this too. What a guy. Suppressing the anger welling up inside me, I simply said, "Understood." I apologized to the client for John's lack of manners and began the presentation using the proposal, comparing it with competitors and our past successes, all of which Susan had worked so hard to prepare. I advanced the discussion, of course, all in French. Unlike with John, the meeting progressed smoothly, and the client responded positively. Apparently, they had been considering working with another company, but they were impressed by my pitch and decided they wanted to proceed with us. "Your presentation was fantastic. We'd love to work with your company," they said, smiling mischievously. Honestly, I had no idea what the guy next to you was saying earlier. I wasn't sure what to do. I could only give a dry smile. In any case, the negotiation was a success. That went well, John? When I spoke to John, who hadn't even realized things had gone smoothly, he nodded vaguely. After we exited the client's building, I summarized the agreement, and John was overjoyed. I sent everyone back to the office, and I headed to the hospital where Susan was admitted. When I told her about the successful negotiation, she was overjoyed. "Thank you so much." "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "You don't need to thank me, just focus on getting better." "Oh, but John, he was mad at me, wasn't he?" Susan looked worried about the scolding she expected to face. "Don't worry, he won't be giving you a hard time." "What do you mean?" "You'll see tomorrow. For now, just focus on resting. Take it easy today." As I adjusted her blanket, I noticed that Susan's face had turned red. Her immune system was probably weakened, and she might have caught a cold. I asked her to check her temperature, and I was relieved when it was normal. When I returned to the office, it seemed word had already spread. Our CEO, Kevin, came to our department. "Bob, great job this time. Securing that major contract is a huge relief." He reached out for a handshake with a warm smile, and I shook his hand. This negotiation was part of a major project. Therefore, the results were significant. Then John chimed in from the side. "Well, Kevin, the meeting wrapped up quickly. I guess my guidance really paid off." The way he said it made it sound like the deal succeeded thanks to him. Ridiculous. He had just sat there watching. It only worked out thanks to Susan's preparation and my sales pitch. Whether he realized my frustration or not, John kept talking. Compared to that, Susan was a complete mess. The whole negotiation almost fell apart because of her. We should remove her from the project. Oh, and since Bob did a decent job, I wouldn't mind having him as my direct subordinate. The one who nearly ruined the meeting was John, and I was the one who salvaged it. John kept up his pompous act, spinning obvious lies. At this point, Kevin couldn't hold back his laughter anymore. "You're hilarious, you know that." John must have thought his father, the CEO, was praising him. He smiled awkwardly but froze when he heard Kevin's next words. "You're going to be Bob's subordinate." "What? You've been incredibly disrespectful to him, haven't you?" "Well, I mean, he's older than me, but a mid-career hire. And I heard he didn't even finish college. Didn't you know he's my superior?" John's eyes widened in shock. "Superior?" "That's right," Kevin said. "Technically, he's my subordinate. When I was 21 and had dropped out of college, Kevin joined the company as a fresh graduate. Even though he was older, I already had over 3 years of experience. so I was technically his senior. He was talented and destined for success, climbing the ranks quickly with plans to become an executive. While he aimed for a leadership role, I was sent to work at the parent company overseas. Thanks to the language skills I gained through relentless effort and study, our company had many branches and subsidiaries. I spent 10 years moving across different countries. The company's investment in me, hoping I would bring back valuable insights from different cultures, was something I could never thank them enough for. I moved through Europe, and after passing through Asia, I was stationed at the South Korean branch when I received a message from Kevin, who had just been appointed CEO. He asked for my help, saying, "Our company's performance hasn't been great lately. I need my senior's expertise. If I could use my experience at the parent company to help, it would be the perfect way to repay my old company." With that in mind, I negotiated with the parent company and got permission to return. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" John lashed out. "But it was pointless because you never listened to me. Besides, after hearing you speak, I started to think you were one of the reasons for the company's decline." "What do you mean?" "You treat employees like disposable tools, ignoring their feelings and piling work on them, all to maintain your authority. You surround yourself with people who blindly follow your orders and shift the blame onto them whenever something goes wrong. I believe this is what's causing the decline in employee morale. That's just your opinion. I'm strict with employees to foster a disciplined work environment." "Is that so? Let's see if you still say that after hearing this." Suddenly, Susan's voice echoed through the office. The sound was coming from my phone. "No, John told everyone to dump all the tedious tasks on me. He said if you don't do as I say, you'll end up like Susan." I had asked Susan to provide a statement from the hospital. He'd also ordered everyone not to help me, and those who ignored his orders and helped me were scolded and pressured until they quit. I saw it happen to several people. "This is nonsense," John protested, but it was obvious from the employees' faces no one sided with him. They all nodded at Susan's words. "I see. I never should have hired you." Kevin looked at his son with a pained expression. "We'll conduct a thorough investigation, but to think the cause was so close to home." I'm sorry," Kevin apologized, leaving everyone unsure how to respond. The only one still shouting, "What are you talking about? I did nothing wrong," was John. Everyone gave him cold, disapproving stares. Afterward, more of John's abuse of power came to light. John's behavior towards Susan was just the tip of the iceberg. His actions had demotivated many employees, lowering their performance and leading to his demotion. Now, as a regular employee, he had to start from scratch, doing the same tasks as new hires and learning from others' work ethic. "Here's your tea," Bob said. With a loud thud, a teacup was placed on my desk. John slammed it down so hard that some of the tea spilled over. Instead of reflecting on his actions, he resorted to petty harassment and venting his frustration. Helping him grow was now part of my job as his manager. "Don, you mentioned being a Returnee from France, right? But are you not comfortable speaking in French?" His face twisted as he likely remembered the negotiation from before. "I graduated from French University, you know." "Isn't that a rude question? But you couldn't hold a conversation, could you?" "Well, you're probably amazing at reading and writing, though." He didn't seem to expect a compliment from me, and he looked confused. "Did you only hang out with other American people while you were in school and in the community?" I asked. "How did you know?" "It's pretty common. If you don't communicate with the locals, you won't really pick up the language." "So you're saying I'm incompetent?" "Of course not. Quite the opposite. If you manage to graduate, that means you have the ability to adapt to unfamiliar environments." "Right. Well, that depends on whether the environment suits me or not." "John, the first thing you need to work on is relying too much on others." The irritation in his voice made it clear that the confident department head he once was had vanished. "Your job, your language skills, you've relied on others for everything, haven't you? If you don't change your attitude, you'll stay the same. Doesn't that frustrate you?" "Of course it does." "Well, would you know, Bob? You've never been the CEO's son." Maybe he'd been paralyzed by the weight of being the CEO's son, unable to find the right way to behave. To become a leader, you need to study more and become someone others respect. No matter what people say, you have to keep working hard. If you feel frustrated, then work twice as hard. Eventually, people will recognize you. John didn't respond and walked off. Shortly after, Susan returned to her desk and said, "I just passed John, and he looked like he was about to cry. I hope my words had reached him, even just a little." By the way, a client sent us a new request, something about an ad targeting the European market. Having taken over John's role as department head, I've been working alongside the team on various projects, using my experience from the parent company. Just as Kevin had envisioned, it seemed like the company's performance was improving, making this a crucial time to maintain momentum. "Oh, and I booked your favorite Italian restaurant for tonight. Looking forward to it," Susan whispered playfully in my ear. Apparently, at some point, she had taken a liking to me. A 20-year age gap. What could an older guy like me possibly offer someone as young as her? I'd said that to her once, but she replied that just like work, age doesn't matter when it comes to love. Age doesn't define someone's value or abilities. A workplace where everyone is respected and can showcase their strengths. That's what I believe a company should be. It's not about how long you've lived. It's about what you've learned, what you've felt, and how you apply it. Helping employees reflect on that is part of my job as a manager. A few weeks later, John approached my desk holding a file. "I've compiled the materials for the negotiation." "What? Already?" "It was all in French, data too." "That's fast." I skimmed through the file and saw that it was well organized with clear charts and graphs. "Of course. I told you I'm a Returnee after all." There was no arrogance in his voice. He was simply demonstrating his abilities. That's how it came across. "That's true. Well done." Seeing how much John had grown, I thought to myself that I couldn't slack off either. I was still learning too. I often asked younger employees about trends and integrated what I learned into my work. A workplace where learning is fun might be a luxury, but it's something I cherish. If I can keep learning about work and relationships at this company I love. While I was lost in thought, Susan called out, "B, the meeting is starting." "Maybe I'll keep learning about love too," I said as I stood up and headed toward her.
I'm a 34-year-old male office worker named Charles. Although I work for a big company, my responsibilities are quite straightforward. This is because Mike, my supervisor, believes I'm incompetent and never assigns me meaningful work. So, like a handyman, I wind myself performing basic jobs like photocopying and making coffee. These kinds of tasks, I believe, are no longer performed by anyone. If someone needs copies, they make them themselves. If they want coffee, they go to the break room. However, Mike and the others treat me like a gopher, forcing me to perform a variety of strange tasks. But because these are such small duties, I complete them fast and become bored. I've always wanted to be given more difficult and rewarding assignments. I take great satisfaction in my diligence, but I lack assertiveness, so I never confront Mike or the others. I have known this since I was a young child. From elementary school through high school, a classmate named Nick would regularly make fun of me. Nick laughed at me all the time and dubbed me a gloomy guy. To be honest, if I had to pick between being happy and depressed, I would definitely choose the latter. I didn't have any friends because I read books and wrote stories during my breaks instead of hanging out with the other students. Nick would comment on my drawings or writing, saying things like, "This stinks. You're a boy, but you're sketching pictures. You're incredibly eerie." Why would you say that, by the way? It's not strange at all, in my opinion. Indeed, it's peculiar. You're the only male in the 5th grade who draws in the classroom, even though all the other boys favor baseball or soccer. Look, everybody. Charles is creating odd images. Cease. Please return it to me. Try not to be too angry and take it back. Here. This was not the first time Nick had harassed me in elementary school. The worst part was that we ended up attending the same middle and high schools, despite the fact that he was quite unpleasant to be around. Our class in high school chose to perform a play for the cultural festival. Nick put me forward for the main role in an attempt to tease me. It really astonished me because I detested being the odd one out. Charles should play the lead role of Romeo. What? I believe Charles will perform brilliantly since he has excellent acting abilities. I have known him since we were in elementary school, so I am fully acquainted with him. Charles ought to play Romeo as a result. Wait, just wait a minute. Everyone agreed, in spite of my objections, and I grudgingly became Romeo and Juliet. The Juliet actress, in tears, said, "I wish I could have performed with a more handsome guy." I was shocked to hear that. I realized that I wasn't very attractive. I believed my face appearance was ordinary, but I felt bad for my parents. The show went well, and we were clapped for, even if the girl seemed unhappy. But I actually wanted to vanish because I detested being the focus of attention. I stayed home and laid up in bed, while everyone else celebrated by going to a BBQ restaurant. These events haven't made me any less afraid. I figured I would just keep doing boring work since I couldn't stand up to those in positions of authority. A woman from a regional office stopped by our headquarters one day. Elizabeth was going to be my new supervisor, and her name was Elizabeth. She was around 5'3", but her high heels gave the impression that she was slightly taller. She's also a beauty, with fair skin and a well-defined nose. I had pondered what I would do if my direct employer proved to be a difficult person, but Elizabeth was very kind and patient with me. "Charles, could you help me with this document preparation?" "Me? Prepare the document?" "Yes, I intended to ask someone else, but they're all too busy and declined. Don't get the wrong impression. It's not that you seemed liberated." "No, I'll take care of it. Please make use of me if I might be of assistance." "Great, then I'm counting on you." Elizabeth assigned me a job. After working on menial jobs for so long, I was happy to have a meaningful career at last. I gave the document preparation my whole attention. I was able to produce a document that was well organized and simple to read because of my hard work. "This is done, Elizabeth. Is this how it should be?" "Oh, I'm so grateful. It looks fantastic. When everything is so neatly arranged, it's pleasant and simple to grasp. Charles, you're really skilled at document preparation, aren't you?" "Well, okay, that's right. Well, I enjoy working in this field." "I'll ask for your help again, then." "Yes, of course." Elizabeth complimented me on the way I prepared the document, so I was happy all day. But when Mike called me in and gave me another boring chore, it made me feel bad. In the document room, printed material was to be bound. I questioned why he was unable to perform such a basic task on his own. It was also a big chore to sort the files, which weighed 3 boxes. My back began to pain, and by the time I was done, I was exhausted. They shouldn't have allowed it pile up this much in the first place, I couldn't help but think. I turned to see Elizabeth hard at work at my desk. Her perfume may have been the source of the lovely smell emanating from her. It dawned on me that Elizabeth was pretty much my type, or, to put it another way, she had grown on me. Elizabeth projected an air of intelligence, having studied abroad in the United States and graduated from a prominent city university. It makes sense why so many of her male coworkers targeted her. They most likely desired a gorgeous and intelligent woman similar to her as a girlfriend. Elizabeth was 30 years old, yet she was already a division chief. She was a clever, sophisticated, and gorgeous woman whom no one could ignore. Male coworkers would swarm to invite her to lunch during breaks, but she would smile and graciously deny them all. After that, she would eat a sandwich while sitting by herself at her desk. I was kind of happy about the similarity and felt a sense of solidarity because I also liked eating deli lunches at my desk. The cafeteria is one of those busy places that I detest going to alone. One day, a female coworker laughed at me and said, "Look, There's a loner. When I went to the cafeteria by myself. I haven't returned since. The lineups at the well-known outdoor lunch area make it difficult to eat there, and I would have to eat quickly to return on time. Deli lunches were more than plenty for me because I didn't want to rush my meal. Although Elizabeth showed kindness to her fellow female coworkers, some perceived her as aloof due to her status as an elite. It seemed more like jealousy to me than anything. There was a barrier because she was well-educated, pretty, and had a nice body. Several of the female coworkers were married or had kids. You wouldn't understand because you're single, they would say to her. I had sympathy for Elizabeth. I wish they would simply leave her alone, but I understand she may have reasons for being single. It was none of their concern when middle-aged ladies said things like, "You better get married soon, or you won't be able to have kids." Hearing such remarks from their peers would not be desired by anyone. I believed that even as a woman, I couldn't stand it. But Elizabeth never lost her temper. Instead, she dismissed it with a joke. "Could you accompany me to a business meeting tomorrow?" Elizabeth asked me one day. "Me?" I questioned. "I do want you to get knowledge. We intend to work with a business to develop food items for individuals suffering from a certain illness." Really, wow. Okay, I'll leave. However, I'm not sure if I can be of any assistance. After all, I'm just a rookie office worker. Avoid speaking about oneself in such a way. Charles, you're working really hard, aren't you? Position and education are irrelevant. You will eventually be rewarded if you persevere. Yes, you are correct. I'll try my hardest. Please bring me along so we may study. So the following day, we went to the business meeting. A corporation works in the medical industry, while B Corporation, our organization, focuses in food items. Elizabeth said we were creating food products for patients suffering from a particular condition. I had reviewed the papers she had sent me in advance and was considering the project we would be working on. Since the focus of the article was on patients with skin conditions, I gave patients with epidermolysis bullosa some thought. Nutrient-packed cookies. I recommended. Yes, I have heard that these individuals frequently struggle to consume enough nutrients, so I reasoned that nutrient-dense cookies might be helpful. However, as you can see, individuals suffering from epidermolysis bullosa may also experience discomfort while eating certain foods such as cookies, Elizabeth said. Ah, I see. A corporation's David scowled as he heard Elizabeth's proposal. The complicated skin disorder known as epidermolysis bullosa causes the skin to become brittle and prone to blistering. Anywhere on the body, even the inside of the mouth, can experience it. Patients experience difficulty eating and oral intake in mild to severe cases. To exist, we must eat. However, eating becomes difficult. But David was worried that the nutrient-rich cookies might be too tough and cause oral pain. Yes, cookies are crunchy, I thought to myself. We tried selling beverages before, but they didn't sell well because they tasted bad, David continued. Are you serious? I understand. The drink that a corporation had was thick and tasteless. It felt, to put it frankly, undrinking. Although people, especially youngsters, felt nauseated from the beverage's thick, disagreeable texture and taste, it was nonetheless drinkable. What should we do? I pondered. Finding something that is both pleasant and nourishing for everyone is difficult. I take it you're a food company. Is there anything simpler that you could make to eat or drink? Our company is a medical manufacturer, so you should be better at this, right? David inquired. Yeah, well, I had some feedback, and cookies seemed like a sensible option, Elizabeth answered. Are you serious? This is not going away. We need your assistance because we are having problems. The patients won't benefit from this. I apologize. Let me reconsider. However, the patients have a tasting session scheduled for next month. We really cannot wait any longer, Elizabeth remarked, obviously in a hurry. At that point, I offered a suggestion. How about chocolate or marshmallows? I inquired. What? David looked interested. Imagine a chocolate that melts in your tongue, as opposed to a hard, crunchy version. Perhaps something with a ganache-like texture. Additionally, marshmallows can be nutrient-rich in addition to being soft and melting in your tongue. It sounds more enjoyable to kids even than these sample cookies. Yes, it's a good idea to market it as a snack that is easy to eat while still providing nutrition, rather than just as a dietary supplement, David said. This disease comes in different forms, some of which are more harmful to the mouth and esophagus, leading to blisters and erosions. Thus, the melting texture ought to be highlighted. As for your company's beverage, I went on, it's a bit difficult to say, but it was quite thick and reminded me of barium. Exactly. I felt it was similar to barium, David answered. It also made me think of the nourishing beverage my father had to have while he was in the hospital due to cancer. Unfortunately, the flavor was poor due to the amalgamation of ingredients. I considered making pudding or jelly, but those foods don't keep well. So I reasoned that candy that melted in your mouth would be preferable. How do you feel? That does indeed make sense. Although pudding is easily consumed, its shelf life is limited. Therefore, we aim to make a lot of it, David stated. Next, how about some chocolate and marshmallows? It will be ideal for Valentine's Day because it is winter. Yes, that is accurate. Kindly carry out that action. Charles, could you email us the information? Yes, please expect a quote from me shortly. I'll get back to you after I have confirmation from my supervisor. Elizabeth gave me a serious look. She was undoubtedly perplexed as to why I, an inexperienced employee in her perspective, would advise something of that nature. I informed her about the 4 primary forms of epidermolysis bullosa and the several approaches to therapy while driving back to the office. Elizabeth asked me questions and nodded, jotting down notes. Charles, you have a lot of talent, don't you? I don't think of you as an incompetent employee, despite what you claimed. Maybe you are an extremely knowledgeable person. Aha, no way, that's not true at all. You have to be a true elite, don't you? You have a ton of credentials and likely attended a more esteemed university than I did. Really? Charles, who are you? Tell me the truth, please. Elizabeth had serious eyes. When I realized there was no way to keep it a secret any longer, I made the decision to come clean. I'm a college graduate, at least that's true, I replied. Are you serious? I agree, but which university, may I ask? I assumed you were merely inquiring out of interest, Elizabeth answered. ABC Medical University. What? I completed my medical school education. In actuality, I am qualified as a lawyer and have a medical license. Are you from the medical school, I wonder? You were a doctor then? No, I passed the national medical examination, but didn't become a doctor. An attorney as well. Have you attended law school? It's not conceivable for Charles to have that kind of background. That's the reality, though. Actually, I passed the preliminary exam to become qualified as a lawyer. The path of preliminary examination. Elizabeth expressed shock. I've heard it's more difficult than passing the test after graduating from law school. Why did you claim that you were merely an inept worker? You're a remarkable individual with obscure academic training and qualifications. Well, okay. All I was good at was studying. For that, my peers would constantly make fun of me. I was told it was unsettling, but I also wrote novels and made pictures. You're a brilliant man. Similar like a contemporary Leonardo da Vinci. Incredible, Charles. I appreciate your assistance previously. I was in a panic, not knowing how to reply to David. Many thanks for it. I'm not that good, sorry. Although I hadn't disclosed my educational history to the employer, I hadn't lied on my job application either. It would be inaccurate to say that. On my resume, I had accurately stated my university. That being said, Only HR and upper management at the sizable B corporation were aware of my credentials and educational background. It's likely that Mike and other colleagues mistook me for another graduate student. Considering that medical school lasts 6 years, they thought I was a graduate student. You spent years in school and you are still useless. Mike would always yell at me. At that point, I made the decision to pretend to be an unskilled graduate. I chose to pretend that I had never attended any graduate school and that I was a hopeless person because rumors were circulating that I had completed a doctorate program at some institution. I appeared to be unable for a reason. Because of the persecution I endured from my classmate Nick, I started to distrust other people. I went to medical school, put a lot of study time in, and desired to become a doctor since the one thing I enjoyed doing was studying. But in my 6th year, something terrible happened when I was receiving practical instruction. I was caring for a little child who died from a rare skin illness. She died from an infection related to a skin issue. Because skin problems can lead to infections, it's important to take care of them. However, delicate skin is susceptible to infection even with close attention. I wish there were no such illnesses in the world. I also came to the realization that not everyone can be saved by doctors. I opted not to become a doctor after taking the national exam, even though my parents had paid for my schooling. I chose to become a lawyer because I wanted to see if there was any other way I could help others. Naturally, I didn't have the time or money to go to law school, so I decided to start with the legal bar preliminary exam. To be eligible for the bar exam, I had to pass the preliminary test. To be honest, I believe it's more difficult than passing the bar exam after law school, but I managed to pass and subsequently finished my legal education, earning the right to practice law. But then there was another catastrophe. My mentor endured terrible suffering at the hands of a resentful client. My mentor eventually passed away. I chose to practice law in order to serve people, but the idea of experiencing such resentment was intolerable. Thus, I decided to take a conventional office job instead. I was frequently asked during interviews why I wanted to be a regular employee despite having graduated from medical school and being qualified in both medicine and law. However, all I wanted was a quiet existence, so I answered in a neutral, conventional manner. I got here in this manner. I was excited about my work at first, but I gave up after I was dubbed overeager for my age and a nuisance. Unlike me, who spent years in medical school and legal training, the majority of the new grads were from 4-year colleges. Simply because I was older, I was treated like a worthless person, but I stopped caring. Yes, I wanted something more satisfying because the work I was allocated wasn't particularly engaging. But I detested being in challenging circumstances. I simply didn't want to assume any accountability. However, this occasion was distinct. Elizabeth needed my assistance since she was in trouble. I simply considered what I could do for her, as she had been focusing on me lately. Elizabeth's eyes filled with sorrow when I told her my background. When I realized she was crying for me, I felt a little thrilled. "You're a really nice person, Charles. Maybe you were too nice, which prevented you from pursuing a career in medicine or law. However, I don't think that's a reason for shame. It simply indicates that your heart is pure." "Ah, do you believe that? I see now that I should email David. I'll get to the estimate quickly. May I also get the paperwork ready? In an hour or so, I believe I can finish it." "Are you serious? After only 1 hour? You really are incredible. I'm astonished. It's not really that significant. Okay, I'll let you handle it." I completed the estimate and the corresponding paperwork, attaching it to an email. David's employer contacted early the next morning after I sent it to him. His supervisor wanted to place an order after like my suggestion. The corporation offers nutritional supplements in addition to medical supplies and equipment. They were organizing a collaborative development project that would blend our company's confectionery ingredients with their supplement powder. Our marshmallows and chocolates were cheap, but people liked them because they tasted so good. I requested that the texture be changed by the development team so that the marshmallows and chocolate would melt in your tongue. We wanted to make sure that the taste and texture were not compromised by adding a company's supplement powder. Among other places, they intended to sell it under a private brand in the pharmacies owned by the firm. It was my aim that these items would appeal not only to patients with skin conditions, but also to those who wanted to effortlessly ingest nutrients from sweets. We moved quickly to develop the product after receiving the corporation's request. We produced marshmallows and chocolates with a silky texture that melted gently in the tongue. David had nothing but admiration for them after trying them. This is amazing. I didn't think chocolate could be so silky. It melts in the tongue instantly, although it's not as soft as ganache. Yes, we made it so it wouldn't melt easily in your hand, yet it melts delightfully in your mouth. I'll try the marshmallow. It melts too. Wow. It dissolves like meringue. Yes, we put some effort into melting and fluffing it. How do you feel? It's fantastic. It tastes nothing like a traditional nutritional supplement, and I believe that even children who are ill would like eating it. It's sure to be well liked. Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. Can I place a sizable order for delivery next month? We'll do our best. Thanks to you, Charles, we succeeded. It's not exclusive to me. The programming team made it possible, and Elizabeth, your comments were incredibly useful. No, my suggestions weren't that significant. No, they were very helpful. We have been very busy since the successful launch of our new marshmallow and chocolate products. Orders began to flood in, and customers other than the pharmacies contacted us with questions. There were so many orders that we had to raise our production capacity. Yes, but we also need to extend our production lines and locate new suppliers for our materials. Is there a good place to do this? Each of us began searching for a factory. At the end of the day, we discovered a big one with the help of a company. As a thank you for our relationship, which had considerably benefited them, they showed us around a factory. As soon as the factory started producing, we were successful in making sizable sales. Both the general public and patients responded well to our products, as evidenced by the enormous number of purchases they made. Of course, we were thanked for making the corporation's tasting event a big success. It made me quite delighted because I had never received gratitude like this before. We succeeded. Charles, you're going to make a ton of money this quarter. Thank you so much for that. Yes, everyone's efforts are what made it possible. Elizabeth, thank you as well. No, I didn't do anything worth being thanked for. Yes, you were rather busy. How about we celebrate by going out for drinks? Our president, Aaron, and the company are both thrilled with the event's success. Is that a problem with me? No, I'll come. My heart was racing because I had never gone out for drinks with a woman by myself. When Elizabeth took me to this chick bar, I was apprehensive. It felt a little bit like an adult's retreat. I was unsure about how to pay for the bill because I had never gone to such a fancy location. Elizabeth ordered multiple rounds, suggesting that she was a heavy drinker. By the time I finished my second glass, my heart was pounding. Drinking like this with someone so amazing is something I never would have imagined, almost like going on a date. I confessed rashly after realizing how much I loved her. I had never made a confession before. Elizabeth, I think I like you. I apologize for stating this so quickly. I told her how I really felt, honestly. It was my first ever confession, and it was an incredible moment. She first appeared shocked, but then she grinned broadly. Are you serious? That's fantastic. Charles, I also like you. What? You were unaware of it. I wanted to be with you, therefore I always ate at my desk. I thought you had some reason for not going to the cafeteria. Making a woman say this, isn't it normal to want to be with someone you like all the time? You like me. Yes, I have enjoyed you from the start. You work diligently and sincerely. Your level of education is irrelevant. I've been observing you the entire time. Is that so? Elizabeth and I strolled home together, both of us blushing. Perhaps because we were inebriated, our hands felt warm. That was the moment I realized how delighted I am. I believe that up until now, my life has been dominated by anxieties. My personality prevented me from ever completely engaging in anything, even if I had a brilliant mind. I discovered that academic proficiency does not equate to social utility. However, I would like to give the firm more now, and I can't do that without Elizabeth. The only person in the group who showed me kindness was she. After that, we spent more time together and introduced each other to our friends. We made a lot of memories by going on drives, dining at wonderful places, and even going to the pool in the summer. We were seeing each other, but we didn't tell anyone about it at work. However, word of it spread over time. Elizabeth had begun interacting with the other female staff members at that point. Some coworkers had despised her because they thought she was too smart, but they later expressed regret to her. We then made the decision to meet each other's family one day. I was made to feel very welcome as a new member of Elizabeth's family. Elizabeth was warmly welcomed by my family as well. With the support of our respective families, our relationship became even closer. We ultimately made the decision to wed. I was worried as hell when I proposed, but when I saw Elizabeth's happiness, I knew it was worth taking a week to pick out the engagement ring. I was astounded by Elizabeth's beauty when I saw her in her attire on the wedding day. I thought I was at my happiest when she grinned and said, "Thank you for everything. I love you." We have enjoyed a happy married life ever since. The best thing that ever happened to me was meeting Elizabeth. I wouldn't be who I am now without her. We committed to helping and motivating one another as we navigated life's obstacles together. We have happy days ahead of us. I'm going to give my wife everything I've got from now on.